So your lovely hosts are going to be giving you a run through of custom dashboards for real-time insights, sales reporting made simple, data-driven decision-making, and the data bridge and Power BI integrations. But before we get started, like I said, I love a poll. So I just wanted to, where I've lost it, that's the problem, throw a poll up. Just asking you guys, which sales metrics do you check the most often at the minute? Hopefully you can see that poll there. And if you just answer, you can always circle back around in the examples that the guys are giving you. If any particular value is, or metric, sorry, is leading against the others. I can see pipeline, not a huge shock, is coming out as the most
trumps
checked.
God, we're putting them to work as well, putting the audience to work. Guys, figure it all out for us, eh?
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. That makes me happy. Like I said, I love a poll. So I'm going to hand over to, I believe, is it Roisin that's going first?
Oh no, Alex is up first. Alex so no pressure.
Alex.
No problem. Let me just steal the screen. I'm just going to check this is the right one I'm going to share.
That's always the hardest.
Here we are. Always the hardest part, yeah, but here we are. So obviously to kick off, we're going to start off today with custom dashboards and real-time insights from a reporting standpoint predominantly. So what I've done in anticipation of this, I've got a forecasting dashboard. If anyone was on the last session, you'll notice a bit of familiarity here. I've built it out and added some additional things for the purpose of this session and some of the further points later on that Roisin's going to dive into. But just to start with, before we actually go into the contents of this dashboard and all of the things that it actually portrays, I'm actually going to just create a couple of widgets from scratch, more just to show the ease of use. I'm going to do a count widget, and I'm also going to do just a basic column. So, you know, for those of you who don't know, it's very simple to do this in Gold Vision. It's as simple as picking your variables. So, I mean, I can't really do anything other than opportunities on a sales-based webinar, so we're going to kick it off with that. And I'm going to just do count. It's set it to the default, and all I'm doing here is looking at the number of active opportunities. This will snap to the bottom of the dashboard in Gold Vision, and it's worth mentioning for those of you that don't know, obviously this is a live dashboard insight here. They're all live. So these are the 254 opportunities I've got in the system as a simple count, and I can just jump onto those and see at a glance as well. So if I head back to the forecasting bit, count's fine, and they're quite good for showing, you know, by person, by individual. We see quite a lot of use cases and scenarios using count widgets because they're, you know, they're very simple, simplistic information. But let's just say I want to drill in a little bit more into the salesperson responsible for, you know, a certain process or for a certain opportunity. We're going to stay with opportunities here and go to a column. Now, what I'm going to do here is filter on owner and number of records, and I could go a step further and even filter on, you know, state. So what state or stage the opportunities at, because we can get quite granular with this if we want to. I'm just hoping, you know, going through this in this way is maybe sparking some ideas as to how and what can be reported on in Gold Vision, and broadly speaking. So it might be that I just want to see all open opportunities, and we'll be quite specific with that. So it just actually cuts out the noise and shows me what's important to me at this time. So I'm going to save it, and this will be at the bottom of the dashboard again. What that's done is it's very colourfully produced for me a number of opportunities per salesperson at the moment. I'm Gold Vision admin, keeping it quite boring, but the rest of them are just simply segregated by colour. Particularly good if you're looking to track, you know, okay, so we can see that this Steve, he's got 6, and you can even add stuff like value and all sorts of variables there. But, you know, that was a few clicks and I've got a really easy dashboard to look at and refine. One thing with dashboard best practice in Gold Vision, it's really handy to get the hang of as well, is you can clone them. We can clone and just change variables. So, you know, here we've got it by owner, but we might want to see it by days open or something a little bit more interesting. And it's there that we start to spot the patterns and we start to spot the trends. So I'll just go back up to the top. One thing I've obviously mentioned at the start, I'm going to just demonstrate this now, is that everything's live in Gold Vision. So this is a year, and this is a clean dashboard. So when I say clean, I mean that everything that's closed won is in the past, and we've got pipeline open for the remainder of the year. So it makes sense that none of this would be closed yet. So this is clean. But I guess if anyone's seen Art Attack, I'm going to hit you with the classic, here's what I made earlier line, because I've got a really bad data one here. It looks quite similar, but what we've got here is we've got data that's not necessarily been cared for in the right, in the correct way. So I've actually got stuff that's still open in January and February, which is just really something to avoid. So I've deliberately made one that's kind of a bit staggered with that, just to show the difference, because these are the key things which actually, if overlooked, can really knock your figures and knock what the rest of the year looks like in comparison to a clean slate, sort of heading into the rest of the year. As mentioned with the live element, I can actually jump into what's closed one might not be as interesting. We're in April right now, so I actually want to see what three big opportunities here for this, this dummy business, this fake business. What three are we at? What are they doing? Obviously, the new business and the cross sell. So this is all, but we might want to just filter on new business and just have it show that. But this is a full business example in question. And this is where we can start to manage opportunities. But yeah, that was a little bit more onto our, our last session. But yeah, those for sort of an introduction into how to customize and get some insights. Those are the main points that I wanted to sort of cover. Don't know if anyone would add any of that before I hand over to you, Roisin.
No, I would just highlight again, as Alex has helpfully done there, is that using dashboards in sales can be a really effective way of seeing bad data. If you were to look at a list and you were trying to kind of weed through a list of opportunities, it might be a lot harder to see something that hasn't been updated for a long time or is in fact incorrect. Now, we're probably going to circle around this point a couple of times, but it really allows you to identify trends in your data. And as Alex has quite helpfully outlined there as well, you can click through, so you can drill down into that data. Again, I'm going to come on to some more of this in just a moment, but the one way that I help kind of motivate the team, if you will, is with these dashboards, giving them visibility of the dashboard so they can see their own pipeline, and they can click through into that data and really take ownership of their own numbers, so they're not getting lost in lists. John's just popped a little question there in the chat, which I'm just going to address. So is the load time impacted by the graphic used, e.g. list versus bar chart? In terms of load time, John, just let me know if I'm misunderstanding here, but the load time is essentially when you refresh the browser, the widget will be updated. So it's lifetime feed, subject to whether you're sat on a static page. The size or the load time of the specific widget may be dependent on how much data you've got in there, because it does load a number of records behind the scenes. If you have more specific queries around kind of load times on any of your widgets, if you're using some, just reach out to support and we can do a little bit more of an investigation on that. It may be that we can kind of optimize those dashboards as well and just kind of make sure that load time is a little bit more efficient if you do have any challenges there. Is there anything else you wanted to add to your piece, Alex, or shall I crack on with some reporting made simple?
Do have another question, Amanda.
Sorry.
No,
there seem to be data limits on dashboards. We see this as we have lots of data in opportunities. What are these data limits? That's a great question, Amanda, and that's one that is quite broad, so it can be quite challenging to answer. It literally depends on the amount of data. I don't know the specific answer to that. I can try and find out for you, but quite often what will happen is the dashboard won't load if we've got too much data in there. So quite often what you can do is you can do a date filter to reduce down the quantity of data in there, perhaps a value filter, or some of the other areas that I'm going to come on to specifically around sales are going to be kind of user filtering and region filtering. What I would do, Amanda, again on that point, just reach out to our support team if you are seeing a specific dashboard that you are having a challenge, or a specific widget that you're having a challenge with. Wicked. Cool. I'm going to jump on that if you're happy for me to do so, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So sales reporting made simple. How can we make this simple? Now, I have just alluded to a couple of these points when just corresponding with Amanda and John there. Some of the key things I want to outline here is how you can break down that sales reporting. And we're just going to cover off a couple of topics here. And apologies, I'm going to make Alex jump all over the screen. But one of the key things in sales reporting, as I've just mentioned, is a breakdown by user. We want our sales team to take ownership of their own numbers. So we want them to be able to see a widget or a dashboard that contains their numbers that they can drive. Now, you can see this in a number of different ways. But realistically, we can segment that. So, Alex, if I could ask you to scroll down to kind of a user breakdown for me, just to give a little view.
Yeah, maybe just zoom out as well, so that's super visible. There you
go. So what we've got there is like a little donut chart, for want of a better word, where you can see the opportunities broken down by the user. So we can see which users hold how much of our kind of opportunity segment. So we can see here that Bill and Karen are our front runners here. They hold the majority of the pipeline with what they've got in their opportunity basket, so to speak. But we could always have an individual forecast for each user as well. And we could drill that down so they can see what they have got in their pipeline for April, May, June, July, so on and such forth. And you're not restricted to the current year. You could look forward to the next year, the year after, so on and such forth, because some of you will deal with shorter term sales cycles than others. So Goal Vision can be very flexible in that. The other thing that we can see just over to the right-hand side is also a breakdown by region. And again, you can do this in a number of different ways. If you are operating via regions in the UK, then of course you can break down your reporting based on the region of the opportunity. But it might be that we're also talking global regions here. So again, same kind of concept. You can also then use Goal Vision reporting to drill down into those regions so that you can show perhaps how the Europe is doing versus Americas, if you wanted to understand the pipeline that you have for each region of the organization. Likewise, it might be the Midlands versus the South. So again, as long as the data is in Goal Vision, we can build these dashboards and we can show it in a number of different ways. So Alex is demonstrating there, again, another donut dashboard, but you can absolutely see this in various different ways. Some of the ways that you can see this information include something called target charts. And again, we're just circling back to that KPI kind of area here. And in the true Art Attack fashion, Alex has got one that he's made earlier, which I'm sure he's going to show us.
There it is.
There it is. So you can see that, beautiful. You can see here on the right-hand side of the screen, we have a business target chart with a gold line on it, or a yellow, depending on how your screen is rendering. So what we can actually input are some key KPIs into Goal Vision to allow us to track where we are against target. So instead of just being caused to kind of remember the target up in your head, you could have a target line on your widget. That might be per person, that might be for the entire business, it might be for region, it could even be for a product group. So this is, again, very flexible and can be used in a number of ways. And this is certainly something that we use to actually drive our sales as an organization as well. Just keeps everyone on track so we know how we are doing against the actual target. So in this particular example, we can see that, okay, so for April, we've probably just got enough in the pipeline if we close it all to hit our target. However, for the rest of the year, we're looking quite light. So we might need to do some adjustment on our targeting, or we might need to be really going out there and getting a bit heavy with our sales approach. Again, I will just disclaim these are demo dashboards. So these aren't real numbers. We're not quite that worried, but it gives you that visibility that an Excel spreadsheet or, a list certainly wouldn't. The other type of kind of chart that I wanted to touch on here was the gauge chart. So over to the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the business sales for a target chart. Now, this, again, can be used in a number of ways, but it's really there to help drive a number over a period of time. So this could be an individual. So this might be perhaps that I've set Kim a target to achieve a certain number of sales, in which case I can set up a gauge chart and she can see that move as she brings that business home. Again, you can use that in a number of different ways. So it doesn't just have to be individual, it could be a team. So it might be that I have my sales team targeted to a certain number, and then actually I have my consultancy team targeted to another upselling. So again, just giving them that visibility to how they are trending against those targets. What I wanted to do is, Alex, if I could just ask you to scroll up ever so slightly to your nice clean widget. I know a lot of people are interested in pipeline, so I'm just going to take a brief moment to ask you just to click the edit item on that particular widget, just so you can all see how we've built that. So in here, we're using the opportunities data source, and we're using the estimated close date for this year. Now, some additional filters you might pop in there would be that you're just interested in closed, won, and open. So that'd be on the state. Which Alex is quite helpfully showing just how easy it is to filter these on. So again, we would just hit open and closed one on here. And then the other key metric here is along our x-axis is having that date field in there, because we want to track by trend when this data is coming in. So he has popped in a month track because he's already sub-filtered down by the year. And last but not least, on the y-axis, he's inputted that he wants to see the value of the opportunity, not the number of records. I think they were the key things I had, Alex. Any questions, or if not, over to you.
Cool. Yeah, no, I can just start on reporting. That's no problem at all. Let me just save that. Perfect. So I'll keep that intact. So yeah, for this next part, I want to touch on sort of how we can make decisions through reports, but also just the simplicity of it. I thought the best way in the approach here would just be to do a bit of a scenario as to what you might need to pull up a quick report for, maybe for a member of the management team, or even just yourself, just for a little bit of, you know, knowledge for what's going on the opportunity front. So I've already got a pre-filtered menu item here of these 44 opportunities. So let's just say I'm the salesperson in question, which I happen to be. So what I can just do is I might have been tasked to pull off a report for, let's just say, the new business or cross-sell opportunities that we've got going on right now. And, you know, what stage are they at? So I've got these fields in here already. I've got the stage and value in here. But I only need to see the new business and, you know, maybe the cross-sell. I'll keep it new business as this is, you know, we'll stick to the sales scheme here. That's drilled that down. It's taken away about 30 records. We're on 14 now. And these are all open opportunities. So I obviously can add and remove columns and just actually look into what's meaningful for me. Obviously, as we've alluded to a couple of times, if there is a field in Gold Vision, it's something that we can log in a report on. We've done a segregation of region. We can have region here. We can go into as much or little depth as possible, but I've in this instance just been targeted to look into new business and do a report on that. So I can do a report from here. I quite like doing it from the Action Center. We've got a couple of ways of accessing that. But all this means is I can just jump in here and generate this quickly. What I might want to do, because this will actually inform the name of the file, I'll just call this new business just to keep it super simple. Now, whilst I've already filtered and I've already gone through what's meaningful and what's important for me at this stage, I can actually add and remove fields at this point too. So, you know, I can take the summary, the account, I can add them here. There's all of the fields in the system, but I'll just stay out of that because that's a little bit too busy. What I will do, however, is I'll just go to the sort area. Now, in this area, we can actually create an order to this and a grouping. So I actually might want to group by the owner of the opportunity. So what this will do is this will show me a report and I can send this to my manager or, you know, the head of sales, or I might even send this to Rasheen if she's feeling like there's something she wants to see. And what this is it's going to break it down by owner as well. All I have to do here is hit save on this. This is infamously, however, a little bit of a stuck loading time, so I might just have to refresh. I have actually created one already in anticipation of this moment, so I'll just wait a moment and then I'll reshare my screen. Let's just have a look.
Oh, demo systems, aren't they fun?
Yeah, they actually off webinars, they're absolutely perfect. Let me just reshare my my screen just to show you what this report looks like before sort of handing over to the final point. Just one moment.
Got to get the right screen now. Sharing.
I have to get the Absolutely. Let me go on to this one. So this is what that report would look like.
You mind
Can everyone
zooming
see
in
that?
a little bit, please?
Yeah, I can zoom in, no problem.
Thank you.
So we've got the value at the bottom, and this is what's particularly important. We don't have to go through tricky Excel filtering and kind of squinting at the screen until we see a trend. We can drill into it and pull a report off very simply. It's a time and productivity hack, kind of, you know, as an overview, but, you know, we've got the stage here, account and summary as well. This particular one hasn't pulled off. The example I did earlier wasn't grouped by owner, but that's something that's possible too, and absolutely something we'd probably recommend playing about with, because there's more ways to see your data than perhaps you are at the moment. So that's just something to note as well as this this section concludes. Kim, Rasheen, anything to add there, or do you think that's all good for now and just a quick reporting workflow?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is that when we hit that floppy disk kind of save icon in the top, you don't just have to have this in Excel. If you have a preference for maybe PowerPoint or Word, knock yourselves out. You can also export it as a static data feed, which I am going to come on to lightly in just a moment about Databridge and Power BI integrations and such forth. So don't want to go too far into that. Unless you're ready for me, Alex.
1 moment, just sharing the screen again. Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, all good for that now. Can everyone see that again? You might not need this to talk through the data feed and everything, but I'll keep it up just in case you need to reference it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to come on to, and I think actually Kim has prepared a lovely glamorous slide for us. So she
Awesome.
There we go.
Essentially, what I want to talk to you about is Databridge and Power BI. And now most of you will probably have heard of Power BI. It's pretty much a household name. It's a Microsoft product. But you might be thinking, what if I don't have Power BI and I have something like Tableau, or I have an alternative reporting platform? What can I do? And you might be thinking, actually, I don't need to get more reporting out. I need to get more data into GoldVision. I love GoldVision dashboards, but some of the stuff I want to report on isn't there. How do I get it? So 2 parts to this little section here. One is Databridge. So we've come through a lot of dashboard reporting, a lot of information. Sometimes what you'll find is some of your information is held outside of GoldVision. And the reason that can be a little bit of a challenge is because it's obviously stored separately. It doesn't align in your system. And also you can't see that data against your relevant customers. So it leaves a bit of a mystery in terms of the picture you're trying to paint. So we have various methods of getting data into the system so that you can report effectively on it. And that's not just for your dashboard reporting, but it's also so you've got that full picture on your customers or your prospects in GoldVision, whether that be sales, customer service, or something else. This works in basically the same way. But we call it a data bridge. And I'm going to really simplify this, so apologies for my horrendous terminology here. But what it allows you to do is take essentially an Excel file, drop it in a location, and then GoldVision essentially hoovers that information up, builds it in GoldVision, and it allows you to then use that. So you can create more dashboards. So it might be, and I'm picking completely at random here, but you might have third-party platforms such as Barber, and you might be exporting perhaps specific job information or specific information out of that platform, and you're playing with it in Excel. But actually, you've got some of those customers or prospects in the system, and you want that data linked to them. So the data bridge can actually, again, hoover that information into GoldVision so that you can then do your analytics reporting and get that picture in GoldVision. The flip side of that is the output, like I said, the report. So what we've got in GoldVision is a fantastic set of dashboards and reporting. And the beauty of GoldVision is that it is click-through data. However, there are the big boys, for want of a better word. So the big names, Tableau, Power BI, these are platforms specifically built to manipulate data. And if you have data coming from numerous sources, you can quite often plug them in together and populate some reporting. So we have something called an OData integration. Essentially allows you to plug into GoldVision, whip the information out so you can see it and manipulate it in Power BI and Tableau. As you can see on screen, you've got an example here, very brief example of being able to see that information back in Goal Vision. So obviously, once you extract that information out and you've popped that into Power BI, I'm sure you'll be aware that some people won't have a license for Power BI. So how can they see that information in Goal Vision? So what we can actually do is we can feed that information back into Goal Vision using one of our iframes, which allows you to view that Power BI dashboard. So yes, they can be as simple or as complicated as you would like. Amanda, can you demo of that data matching using the data bridge? When you refer to data matching, Amanda, I wonder if you could clarify here. Are you referring to pulling information in against accounts? Are you referring to data for sales? Do you know what kind of data you're referring to? Matching data to accounts. Okay. So using the data bridge, and it may be best if we have a separate session on this, is all about aligning that data, as you've mentioned, with your accounts. So quite often you would need a column for your account name or account ID. You would need a column for your opportunity or your quote. And then you can pull that information in accurately. But I think what's going to be best there, you've already hit it, Amanda, is that we set up a session to go through with you specifically what that can do. Because it's so customizable, everyone can use it differently. So we'll be in touch after this to get that arranged for you, not a problem. So yes, a number of different ways that you can use Power BI, Tableau. You can also use our data bridge to suck information in. Really have a think about what it is that you are trying to see, what you're trying to kind of push, or your KPIs within your sales team, so that you can then pop in the right automations, the right tools to be able to achieve those KPIs and see them within the team.
Fantastic. Lovely stuff. I just shared a link there. If anyone does want to know a little bit more about DataBridge, hopefully that popped up for you. Just click through there. And like Roisin said, if you have further questions, by all means, just reach out and I'm sure the guys will be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Directly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Lovely. I'm just going to share real quick a bit more information about Power BI integration that Roisin was talking about. It's the same idea. Just go through, have a little read, and then if you've got any follow-up questions, again, just reach out. The more the merrier.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can also strangely kind of stalk who clicks these things. Yes. So we can be in touch with you guys as well. So don't worry about it.
Lovely. Okay. Any more from lovely stuff? We're running beautifully on time, which makes me very satisfied. So before I run through the key takeaways of this session, one last poll from me.
Rinsing you guys.
Just understanding for our sake more than anything, like what your biggest challenge is when it comes to reporting in Goal Vision. Because hopefully off the back of this session, it's making a little bit more sense. You've got some ideas, a bit of inspiration. But yeah, there may still be things in the back of your mind that are just making you a little bit nervous to get cracking with it or to take it to the full extent that we may have shown you some examples of today. And I just thought it'd just be interesting to get some answers to this and see what the guys' thoughts are. Like seeing the data isn't clean enough, sort of taking the lead there. Is that quite a common challenge?
Yeah, I mean, we see it depends. Quite often we have a mixed bag. So if you've had Goal Vision for a long time, you might have a lot of old data, or you might have changed the way you're working, and it can really become a mixed bag. Or it might be that you're not actually recording enough and you don't have the data you need to report on. So again, we can review those responses and reach out, because we do have consultants available that can help advise and assist on some of this. So yeah, appreciate your engagement on this, guys.
That's really interesting. I'd imagine it would be a similar answer then in terms of not being sure where to start. Like, by all means, like we have people here that can help you get to grips with just where is the right place to start. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, again, we do this as bread and butter. Quite often, we're using our own dashboards to drive our own business forward. So we don't just, say, we do the do as well.
Yeah.
So yes, Mike, you've popped in here. Our company's inputs are a little confusing to try and set up the dashboards. What I'll do is I'll just review with your account manager at the end, and we can just reach out and just see if we can poke around and see if there's, you know, something we can do to assist you in that area. Absolutely. I don't believe in anything such as a lost cause. I don't believe in it. So we'll give it a whirl.
That's it. Okay. So yeah. So key takeaways, hopefully, is that data-driven decision making is simpler than ever. Real-time insights will help you stay ahead. Your custom dashboards will help to drive sales focused. The reporting is there to work with you. Better forecasting equals better results. And that it's not just about the numbers, it's about identifying those trends. It's about telling the story of what, or interpreting the story of what your data is trying to tell you. So I'm hoping that that's what you've been able to take away from this session. And before we leave you and part ways, I just wanted to, shameless plug for myself now, just make you aware of the fact that we do have an upcoming webinar this time. Let me just grab, I've got a sign up link for you guys as well. There we go. That should be popping up now for you. But yeah, it'll be myself and Jiggy Patel, which hopefully, again, a lot of you will probably be familiar with Jiggy. So we are going to be talking all things about how to, once you've got your CRM project underway and you're up and running, you might be finding that CRM adoption is stalling, and how to get that back on track, how to use workflows that are user-friendly to really help drive that daily engagement. The secret to turning compliance into real user buy-in, and ways to track adoption success and keep the momentum going, which is really key, is just not taking your eye off the ball with this. We want people to buy into the system every single day, not just right at the beginning.
And I think that actually feeds into something that's come up in the poll there. If your data's not clean enough, are your users using the system properly?
Yeah.
How can we help with that? So worth bearing that in mind if you think that is a
absolutely. And what Jiggy doesn't know about CRM implementation, I just don't think, like this.
That's not worth knowing, is it?
No. I can see one more question from Amanda. Are there any plans to allow you to produce reports using more than one table, for example, opportunities and projects combined? I'll throw that.
Very interesting, Amanda. At the moment, because they read from separate tables, as you've outlined in the database, they are separate. You could see them in one dashboard, but not in one particular widget. It's something, again, that I can outline to your account manager. We can review that with you, because there are certain things we can look to do. But one of the areas that would be quite useful here, potentially, if you are using it, is something like Power BI, something like Tableau, that, again, want of a better word, to mash this information together and really produce something a little bit more extravagant. So again, I'll add that to your note, Amanda, and we'll reach out and just touch base with you on that.
Fantastic. Okay, any last questions? So yes, the session is being recorded. So pretty much as soon as the session ends, it does a little bit of magic in the background to just render the video out, and then it will be sent to you automatically. So hopefully within the 5 minutes after the session coming to an end, you should have that drop into your inbox.
Yeah. Mike said he's looking for a similar thing to Amanda, so that's not a problem. We'll put you on our hit list, for want of a better word, and we'll reach out and we'll just gather your requirements so we can understand a little bit best, so that we can obviously push that in the right direction for you.
Fabulous. So final call, any last questions? We've got a little bit of time left.
Yeah, give everyone a few moments. Probably got sandwiches in one hand and keyboard in the other, so just a few moments. If you've not got any questions, guys, you're welcome to escape, but we will sit here just for a few more moments and see if anyone else rolls through. But really appreciate your time today. Lynn's saying we've got a link.
Interesting.
Link to the user document.
Oh, what a snafu on my part. 1 second.
What a nightmare.
I will just drop the link into the chat for you.
There we go. Lynn, can you give that link a whirl? That would be fabulous. Thank you for test driving that. Appreciate it. Thanks, Lynn.
Well, thank you.
Love that.
Awesome.
I'm glad you're all keen on the next webinar. That's something. Give it a go, aren't we? Wicked. Like I said, just give everyone a few more moments just in case you're still typing away there. But if not, we'll let you escape.
Okay.
Wicked.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Hopefully you found the session helpful.
Absolutely. And if there are any questions, again, reach out to support in the first instance. We can then direct them. But anyone that is engaged in the session, we will be directing that post this session. So expect to hear from us.
Yeah. Great.
Amazing.
Have a lovely rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks for your time, everyone. Cheers. Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.